This is probably an unnecessary video. I must be one of the last people to talk about it, but I was so disgusted by Shaq that I'm going to add my 2 cents. Commissioner Dynamo covered most of it.
You can't keep getting away with it!
He did a good job covering this, pointing out exactly why Shaq was wrong.
No, they had identical records.
And pointing out several good examples of Shaq's growing insecurity, maybe based upon regret for how he approached his career. But one thing Commissioner Dynamo left out was Shaq repeatedly talking about Shea having to go back and do it all over next year.
The fact that he has to start all over next year and try to win it again, I think it was, I know it's going to be hurtful for him.
And he did it multiple times. He's like, oh, he must be heartbroken. You know, you work so hard and you just have to start all over again. Like, what do you think his job is? He's a basketball player striving to be one of the greats. But who would this not apply to? How many people have fought for an MVP and didn't get it? Even if they did or didn't deserve it, they worked hard, and I'm sure they were disappointed.
The fact that he has to start all over next year and win it over again, because again, I felt I was robbed 2 or 3 times, right? And I played my ass off.
How about Jokic last year, clearly deserving it, and it being gifted, apparently based on racism, to Embiid. And so we don't go down the hole of racial accusations, which is the laziest, most obvious thing to pin on people. The reason I watch Jokic more than these other guys is because Jokic ends up being the one who has to take out LeBron and the Lakers more. I honestly didn't watch Shea or Luka as much, so it's not fair for me to say, and I don't care if they would have given it to someone else in the league. I don't care who won it. What bothers me is Shaq being a professional analyst, not even having his shit together. Shaq is entitled to an opinion and his feelings, but as a professional analyst on television, how about if you have your facts straight at least? Like, you were unaware of the stats? You're unaware that Jokic fills the stats better and in a shockingly impressive way? You were unaware of the team's records? You thought you had a good point about the records? And just to spread my criticism around, Chuck chimed in, thinking he had a point, countering Shaq, saying, well, it was only a 1-game difference. It took Ernie to chime in and say they had the exact same record. You freaking idiot. How do you get ready to make a big pout on national television and not have even checked your facts first? You know, this is even worse than I thought. At first, I was just going by the clips that I saw on other people's channels, but then I watched the whole TNT segment. Ernie had just finished listing Jokic's achievements and his stats.
26 points a game was number 10 in the league. 12 rebounds was number 4. 9 assists was number 3. Had 25 triple-doubles, second most in the league. 68 double-doubles was second in the league. 31 games of at least 10 assists this year. 23 games with at least 15 rebounds.
Was Shaq listening at all? So Shaq comes out with his stat stuffer argument. That gets thrown in his face. He doesn't care. He then said, based on the team's record, they said, well, they had the same record. He doesn't care. His number 1 and 2 points that he was basing the argument on, out the window. And he's just like, blah, blah. It was a guy who called in to this morning's live podcast that pushed me over the edge to decide to do a video today, because I knew the parts that I'm showing you now. I didn't know that they called Jokic, and to Jokic's face while announcing the MVP, Shaq felt the need to say, I don't think you deserved it, but here you go. Really, dude? Really? There's a time and a place. So here's Jokic. Jokic has to take the higher ground, just, shrug off the disgusting lack of taste that Shaq has and continue with the interview. It's, sometimes you wonder if these guys are fed these lines because of the trend of turning even sports into reality television. But this seems like genuine stupidity. This seems like it actually came from him and his insecurity. Man, your job is to know this shit that you're talking about. You couldn't bother to know the very information that you're supposed to know. But I got to go back to the whole whining part. This is a guy that loves to say, man up, boo-hoo, toughen up. And he's the same guy turning around and trying to create a sob story that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander might be disappointed and he's going to have to start all over from scratch next year. You mean like Luka? You mean like people that didn't even get mentioned? Like Brunson? Anthony Edwards? You think SGA and Luka are the only three who might be feeling disappointment? And by the way, Shaq, as great as you were, you weren't as great as you think you were. You got helped. You got helped. The last person who deserved help from the refs got help from the refs. You did. I'm sure you got fouled plenty of times. So does everyone. You absolutely smashed people to death as a playing style. Now, don't get me wrong. Shaq is also amazingly agile for his size. He is. He is an athlete. He's not just big. He is a big athlete. But he still abused that illegally. And you're the one that didn't want to put in the work ethic. You're the one who didn't want to train the way Kobe trained. Don't take your regret and anger out on people today. This clip came up even as this stuff was on my mind. I guess the devices are listening.
Stop saying hack-a-shack.
Yeah,
but that's,
I don't play,
that's
no, it's not. I've been up here 4 years with you guys.
But it's
no, it's not. I'm not playing. It didn't work with me, so you can't say it. I don't want to hear my name anymore. Whoever getting filed,
you don't want to hear your name anymore.
No.
All these idiots on TV talking about banning the hacker shack. That's ridiculous.
Chuck, I'm gonna tell you one more time. Don't say hacker shack no more.
What are we supposed to call it?
Hacker whoever.
We gonna solve this. We're just gonna call it hacker dummy. and we just assume. We don't know we're talking about you, but we just gotta we won't call it that. Hey, let's go hacker dummy.
But holy crap, his insecurity. I mean, he about loses it here. And he's always threatening to beat people up, telling Chuck, one more word. I'm telling you right now, one more time. He does it again here. He doesn't agree with Barkley, so he says, I'll show you that we can play football, and threatens to run over him there in the studio. He's always threatening Chuck. Shaq starts losing an argument and he tries to turn to violence and yelling. Shaq, you will run over him. You're freakishly big. That's not the same as winning an argument.
Stand up right now. I dare you to stand right now.
Shaq, football is a Shaq.
Stand up right there right now.
Football is a grown man's sport.
Stand up right now and let me show you.
They can't say hack-a-Shaq. Bro, your shitty goddamn free throw shooting is what earned you hack-a-Shaq. Plus you have a name that is a marketing dream, and you've cashed in on that marketing dream by endorsing just about everything that exists on the planet. So don't get upset that hack-a-Shaq came into existence. It's catchy and appropriate because you couldn't make a free throw to save your ass. And don't start talking about tucking in your elbow, that you would sometimes tuck in your elbow and hit the free throws. It was very rare. And I've already done a video of you not tucking in your elbow, even when you said you were tucking in your elbow. But this dude's yelling. This dude's yelling at the rest of his panel in his insecurity. Boy, Chuck was funny, though. Chuck fucking nailed it. We'll call it hack-a-dummy, and we'll just know who we're talking about. Anyway, here are the original clips if you want to hear Shaq for yourself.
Based on everybody's criteria, my criteria, stat stuffer. you guys' criteria, number 1 seed, which team has a better record, I felt Shea Alexander deserved it. Because again, I felt I was robbed 2 or 3 times, right? And I played my ass off. Stat stuffer, won championships those years. But again, no disrespect to the Joker, but me personally, I would have gave it to Shea.
You keep throwing stat stuffer out there.
No, because that's my criteria for
does
MVP.
Nikola Jokic not stuff the stat sheet?
Yeah, but not like Shea.
Really?
Shea is one of the few players that had 30 points in 50 games, Ernie.
Well, but when you're talking about stuff in the stat sheet, look at all the triple doubles for Nikola Jokic and look at his ranks in scoring, rebounding, and assists. I don't think stat stuffing is an argument.
Okay, but even doing all that, OKC was the number 1 seed.
They had only by 1 game.
They had identical records. It was a division record tiebreaker. That was the separating factor.
All this is subjective.
Wrong.